Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. So, I've been feeling a little confused after I stopped my mother in law from being a part of my kids' life. They frequently ask me why they haven't seen grandma in a while, and I find myself lacking an answer. It's not like I don't know what to say to them, it's more like I don't know how to explain to them the complicated relationship I have with my mother in law, ATM. But lately, I've been rethinking my decisions, and finally, I've decided to write this post. You all can let me know whether what I did was the right thing or if I'm just an a hole. So, I'm a single mom who works quite long hours to sustain my family. It's not like if I work less hours, I won't be able to survive with my two sons. It's just that I work extra. So, instead of giving them just a bare minimum life, I can give them a life worth remembering. I don't want them to feel lacking in any aspect, and if it's in my power, I give them as much freedom as I can to make choices without feeling any responsibility of thinking about money. That's not to say I don't teach them to be responsible. Trust me, I'm raising two perfect gentlemen. Anyway, with how much I work, my mother in law frequently visits to keep an eye out on the children. One is 7 and the other is 5. She takes them out for meals and such. One day, when they returned after a trip to Wendy's, she told me she's been planning to move to another country for a while. I was surprised to hear that out of nowhere. I asked her if everything was all right and why she was suddenly planning to move. She said it's not sudden and she's been preparing for this for a long time. She already signed a lease for a house and that it'd be like a nice vacation for her. I told her that I'm happy she's going to relax and that she deserves to take a break after how much she helps me around with the kids. I told her that she shouldn't worry about anything on my side and that I'd be happy to visit her with the kids once every few months so she doesn't miss them. That's when she told me there won't be any need for that as she's planning to take the kids with her. It was shocking to hear that, but what was even more shocking was what she said next. Hearing her explain her reasons to do that was so absurd and unbelievable that I was dumbstruck and couldn't even begin to understand her intentions. She told me that while she was here, she was able to make sure that the kids didn't suffer with me. She took care of their needs and gave them everything they desired. She made sure they got a happy lifestyle just like the one their father had. That got me out of my trance. To think that all of this while I was thinking she's sweet to help me out with the kids while I work my ass off and that I could maybe lean on her. And all this while all she was doing was making sure I don't let my son starve. She really thought that if she wasn't here, I'd let them die. It was so absurd to even think that I had no reply to her words. Even after she kept going, taking my silence as my agreement with her words. She said now that she's planning to move for 2 years to another country. She'll take them with her and make sure they get a proper home and experience this world that I alone can't give them. They'd be getting a better education and living among different people that would help them develop much better. She said there's no need for them to only know this shabby town and that moving with her is the best decision for their lives. That's when I told her to shut her mouth. She thinks she can barge in my home and make decisions for my kids? I told her straight away that my sons won't be going with her, and as she thinks so lowly of the lifestyle I've provided for them and the house we live in, she can just get out. I told her they are my children, and just because their father isn't here anymore, it doesn't mean that automatically gives her the parental rights. I am doing just fine on my own, and as much as I appreciated her help, I don't need her toxic thinking to come anywhere near my children. Her ideologies are so twisted. I can't believe I ever thought she's helping me out of love. I then kicked her out of the house and told her there's no need for her to contact my kids again. We'll be happy in our shabby lifestyle without her. Since then, I haven't let my kids talk to her. I have blocked her number and made sure that she can't reach out through any other way. I know my kids miss her and that her sudden disappearance from their lives would definitely impact them in the wrong way. But what other choice do I have? There was no way I was going to let her take my kids with her. I'm their mother and I want them to grow up around me. I get only a few years of their lives before they grow up and start living on their own. So, does this make me an a hole? Am I being selfish in not letting them go with her or communicate with her? Also, I told my kids that grandma has gone on vacation to another country and that she was feeling so sad about leaving them here and not being able to spend time with them on a regular basis that she couldn't bring herself to say goodbye. I told them once she returns or once they grow up enough to travel on their own, they'll be free to go visit her. I made the excuse of the town she'll be living in not having a good cell service for the lack of phone communication, but even my kids are sharp enough to know that I'm not telling them the whole truth. Honestly, I don't know what else to do. How do I proceed with this? I can't tell them the truth. I can't allow her to be in their lives. I can't let them go. Am I really being an egotistical person trying to handle things on my own? It's been almost 8 months since my mother in law left for another country, and even though I hate her for everything she said and her way of thinking, I can't deny the fact that her presence in my and my kids' lives made things a lot easier. I've been spreading myself thin trying to make sure we are financially strong enough to not think about small spendings on trivial things, and making sure that I spend enough time with my kids so they don't feel left and alone and rejected. I've been doing my best to make sure that both their physical and emotional needs are met. My mother in law keeps trying to contact me. Initially, she called me twice or 3 times a week. But now, after months, her calls became more infrequent. But I still get her texts regularly. She asks about the kids and constantly urges me to rethink my decision. Some days I'm actually so exhausted from everything that I do wish that maybe I should have let them go. Does that make me a horrible mom? I mean, which mom would even for a second think of letting her kids go away from her? But seriously, it has been so hard that I just can't help it. It's been a while since my last update. I'm writing this one because something unexpected happened. Last week, my mother in law returned to the US without my knowledge and came to visit my sons. When I got home from work, she was already there. As my kids had no idea that I've asked her never to return here and that I kicked her out, they let her in. First, I was really scared of what she must have said and what she was going to do. But she told me not to look this worried, that she simply missed her grandkids and wanted to see them. She told me we'll talk later, and right now we should just enjoy the happy reunion of a happy family. I was shocked to hear her words. She was deliberately saying that to let me know that the kids still don't know anything. I was thankful to her for that. After the kids went to sleep, we talked. I asked her what she was doing here, and all she said was to calm my horses, as she had no intention of fighting. I was honestly surprised to hear her humble tone. She told me that it's been a long time and she's come to terms with the fact that I won't easily yield to her. She said she kind of understands. If someone would have asked her to give up on her son back in the day, she'd probably react how I reacted. Then she went to tell me that even though she understands where I'm coming from, she does not regret her actions, as she just wants her grandchildren to have the best life. And if she's the one who can make that possible, she'd do that. But as I'm thoroughly unwilling to let them go anywhere far away from me, she'd make sure that they get that life here. For now, she's just visiting them because she genuinely missed them, but she's planning to end her international vacation sooner than intended, and that she plans to get more involved in the lives of my kids. That's, of course, with my permission, and that she expects me to keep an open mind and my ego aside while we discuss these things. I had nothing to say to that. I didn't expect her to suddenly come back and have a completely changed attitude. Either way, if she's willing to work around my comfort, I have no more reason to keep her away from my sons. I did tell her one thing, though. I told her that as much as I hated her for what she asked of me and her condescending tone in the past, I actually missed having her around and helping me out with the kids. Being a single mom with no one else to lean on was really hard, and in the last year or so, I've come to appreciate the help she provided even more. I sincerely thanked her for that. I'm glad we can sort things out like this, and my kids get to have an elderly presence in their lives, because no matter how much I make up for everything, there's no denying the fact that her wisdom far exceeds mine, and her influence would be great on their upbringing. NAH. Honestly, I kind of understand where your mother in law is coming from, since I also have grandkids, and there's nothing in this world that I love more than them. We all just want to spoil our little fellows. Her approach was a little wrong, but her heart was in the right place. NTA, I don't think what you did was wrong. It's important to make boundaries, even with family sometimes, and I'm glad you stood your ground. Nothing matters more than the fact that in the end, you're the mother and have the biggest right to decide what's good for your kids. I'm a 35-year-old male, and my son is 6 and has always been a picky eater. It's been especially hard since we're on food stamps and half our food comes from the food pantry. For the last 2 months, my sister in law has been looking after him 3 afternoons a week, and I'm so grateful, especially with how things are getting so expensive now. So, saving a bit on childcare means so much to me, and she feeds him, which helps too. The thing is, sister in law is very well off and cooks quite extravagantly. We can't even afford the brand name mac and cheese, but at Aunt Gigi's, they'll have homemade mac and cheese with a four cheese mix. When I serve him the boxes stuff, he wants pecorino sprinkled on top. I've never even tasted pecorino. My son used to love hot dogs, but now he's used real sausages. Tuna sandwiches were a go to, but now he wants fresh fish. It's like this every meal, where I have to explain to him that we can't afford better food, and he barely eats now. I can't get more than a few spoonfuls in him. When I drop him off, he runs to the kitchen where sister in law's prepared a snack tray. If I'm early when picking him up, I see he's chowing down on dinner, and I see him often licking the plate. So I know he's hungry. The other day, he was talking about the broccoli soup they had and thought that that might be something I could make. So I asked sister in law for the recipe and made it for him. He ate 3 bowls for lunch and polished off the rest for dinner. And parents would be happy seeing their kids eat a whole head of broccoli, but that cost me $12 worth of ingredients, a quarter of our weekly budget on soup. I've never cried so hard in my life. I can't even afford to make soup for my son. The other day, we were at mom's brother, sister in law, mom, me. I told sister in law that I'm grateful, but asked if she could cook less extravagantly. I suggested pasta with just a jar of sauce. She said she didn't want to cook separately for my son, that they'd have to eat this too. I was taken back a bit and asked her what she meant by we'd have to eat this too. Her exact words. It felt like she was saying they're too good for pasta with sauce, and that's basically her answer, that she didn't want to eat that. I tried to explain my situation, how it's so much harder getting my son to eat now, but mom cut me off and we started talking about something else. Later, my mom told me I should apologize to sister in law and that I was being an ungrateful AH to her. But I don't think I am. I'm grateful, but she's made it so much harder for me to feed my son. Am I really in the wrong here? I want to have the conversation again with sister in law. But my mom's words are making me feel like an AH. On the other hand, I'm really struggling to get my son to eat. Soft YTA, your son have a chance to get to try different food that you can't provide. You should be glad he can. I get that it's harder for you after because he wants to eat fancy stuff, but he is 6. He should be able to understand that he can't always get what he wants. Time to do some parenting. NAH, this is an uncomfortable situation for sure, and I understand where you're coming from. I don't think your sister in law is suggesting that she's too good to eat the meals you're suggesting, just that it isn't what she wants to serve or eat for dinner. It's not unreasonable to expect to cook for your family what you would like and are able to cook for them. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask her to change their habits to accommodate your budget, but I don't think it makes you an a-hole. Your son will survive eating extravagant meals some days and less expensive meals on other days. I think the primary issue is not what he's eating, but how that is making you feel. He could certainly stand to be more grateful of the food you're providing him, but you should also keep in mind that kids can be stupid jerks because they have no context or experience. Picky eaters don't eat the meals your sister in law is making. He'll just get hungry and he'll eat eventually. Don't give in. Maybe make him special meals every once in a while, but don't let your pride sabotage this childcare opportunity of your food budget. I'm a 34-year-old male in a situation where I feel like I'm right, but some friends and family feel like I'm in the wrong. I truly don't think I'm in the wrong, so I am looking for some unbiased opinions and answers. My wife, Elizabeth, died when my daughter, Davina, 10, female, was born. I decided to name her the middle name of her mother in honor of her. My current wife, Natalie, 34, didn't know this up until 2 weeks ago, until a cousin accidentally slipped it out. It's important to add that Natalie does get jealous of Elizabeth from time to time because Davina knows that Elizabeth was her bio mom and has pictures of her to remind her. Me and Natalie are expecting, so now she is hung up on naming our daughter Natalie. I understand that she is jealous, but I feel like she is only trying to one up Elizabeth by doing this. I have already expressed my dislike for her doing this, but she brushes it off and says things like, If you love me more than Elizabeth, you would let me have this. At dinner with my family last night, she revealed without my knowing that the baby's name would be Natalie. I could tell that my family knew what she was trying to do and kind of just sat there awkwardly. I didn't want to embarrass her by saying anything directly, but when we got home, I told her that I'm putting my foot down and I refuse to let her name our baby that. She called me cruel and pathetic for still loving Elizabeth even though she's dead. I honestly didn't know what to say and just left. I'm currently writing this at my parents' house and seriously contemplating divorce. Me and Natalie are doing better now. We had a really long conversation last night about everything, and she did admit that she was jealous and felt like I did love Elizabeth more. She did say that she would work on it, and we are going to start doing marriage counseling. Natalie did also say that she understood why Davina has her pictures of her mom, and if she was to die in childbirth, then she would want me to tell our baby about her and show her pictures. I also showed her the comments on here. That's why we are doing the counseling. We are going back to the original name we had for the baby. Also, Davina does see Natalie as her mom and refers to her as mom or mommy. Elizabeth is Beth or Elizabeth to her. NTA, but your wife is jealous of your child and her dead mother, and that is neither normal nor okay. This woman needs therapy immediately. NTA, your current wife needs serious counseling. She's jealous of a dead woman and is actively trying one up your late wife and get you to prove you love her more. That is not healthy.